everybody. Thanks for joining me for my April wrap-up video. My month of April, reading-wise, was a little bit of, I guess I could characterize it as a struggle. The first book that I finished, actually I'm pretty sure it was like April 1st or 2nd, was Hero of Ages, the third Mistborn novel by Brandon Sanderson, and yes, this was pretty amazing. I haven't read just a ton of fantasy series, at least enough to consider myself even close to an expert, but I do like the fantasy genre. I love epic fantasy series, but Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson kind of set the standard for me, at least in terms of completed series that I've read. It was pretty amazing. I feel like I can't really say much about the third book without spoiling the series, but the third book really, it was one of those books where I was reading it and I had no idea what to expect. Not so much because I was expecting a big plot twist from Brandon Sanderson, even though there was that, but because the scope of the series was so much bigger than anything else I'd read before. I just had no frame of reference. I'm also very impressed because I'm typically, well, I say I'm not against romance, but then I'm going to say something that kind of seems to contradict this. Vin and Alind, I think that's how you pronounce his name, is the first fantasy romance that I actually liked. I think most romances in fantasy are kind of afterthoughts, and they're kind of put in because authors think they have to have some sort of romantic plot, and it just kind of ends up being an afterthought and boring and clumsy and not helping the story. I liked Vin and Alind, and that just kind of surprised me. And so congrats on Brandon Sanderson for doing something that no one has really done before. Now, the problem was after I finished up Hero of Ages, I knew I was going to be in a little bit of a rut, just because anytime you finish a series that amazing, like you know there's going to be a little bit of book hangover. So my next read, I went with Prisoner of the Daleks by Trevor Baxendale. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with this. Oh, by the way, I rated Hero of Ages 5 stars, rated Prisoner of the Daleks 4 stars. It was very solidly written. Anytime you have like a movie or TV show adapted into books, I'm not exactly expecting excellence, but Baxendale wrote this well enough to exceed my expectations. It, wasn't very long. It was only like, 220 pages, so it was a quick read. But it grabbed my attention. It was suspenseful. It was fun. It deals with the Daleks, who are the best, probably the best race ever. I love the Daleks. They're just pretty amazing, so I very thoroughly enjoyed that. When I finished up the Mistborn trilogy, I knew there was going to be some sort of book hangover, and I was actually pleasantly surprised how fast I was able to get through Prisoner of the Daleks. However, the hangover really didn't hit until after Prisoner of the Daleks. But so I took probably about a week and a half just like starting books and getting a chapter into them and then deciding it wasn't one I wanted at the moment, until finally I came across the third book I read in the month of April, which is The Force Unleashed by Sean Williams. This is based off of the video game that came out a couple of years ago, and I was impressed by this. But Star Wars books have definitely become like my go-to. Anytime I'm in any bit of a reading funk, I can pick up a Star Wars book, and even if it's not a great book, I still enjoy it. But still, I always kind of have, I guess, guarded expectations with them, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and like the movies are so great, and the Thrawn trilogy is great and all that. But this was a very solid book. I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. One of the things I love about the Star Wars universe is how there's so many different mediums that work together to tell a story. For example, this is, I believe, the third Star Wars book that I've read based off of a video game. I think the other two, Fatal Alliance and Deceived, were both based off Knights of the Old Republic, but all three of them are actually very good books, and I think that says a lot about the strength of the Star Wars universe, that you can write a book based off of a video game and still have it be a solid book. And then following up that, I read The Ghost Brigade by John Scalzi, and this is only my second John Scalzi book, and the other one was Old Man's War, so it's 2 from the same series, but I'm really getting to the point where I I feel like I can rely on John Scalzi for a good book. I don't think he's... I hate this because one of the things I'm realizing more and more is that when you're talking about authors, you're talking about real people, which is a very obvious statement, but for whatever reason, the past couple of months, that's been really hitting home for me. So I don't want to be insulting when I say I don't think John Scalzi is a brilliant author, but I think he's an author who understands his strengths and his weaknesses and is very good at working within his strengths and staying within his scope as an author, because both Old Man's War and Ghost Brigade were just good books. They were funny, the story flowed well, the characters were likable, you know, they had good stories, they were suspenseful and exciting. I feel that John Scalzi is an incredibly competent author, which doesn't sound like a very big compliment, but I'm beginning to really like him. I'm excited to read the third book, The Last Colony. I would rate this like a 4.5, I think. Maybe 4. I don't know. 4 to 4.5 stars. I don't think I've quite decided. But so even though there were some struggles, I managed to read 4 very good books in the month of April. Like I said, it's hard for anything to compete with Hero of Ages, but the other 3 books were very enjoyable. I've also started Inda by Sherwood Smith, part of the Inda Club read-along hosted by Novels and Nonsense. I will post Sam's channel below. And Inda is taking me a very long time to get through. I don't know, I consider myself a pretty fast reader, especially once I get into a book, and I'm very, very, very intrigued by the story of Inda. I think it has an incredible potential. I like the way that Sherwood Smith writes. It kind of reminds me almost like a young adult version of Game of Thrones. There's multiple perspectives, there's a huge country with a lot of political intrigue going on. I also like the fact that even though Inda is obviously the main character of this story, very little of the story is told from Inda's perspective. Sherwood Smith is very good at switching perspectives, and I don't know, I appreciate that. I'm really excited to get to a point where I'm moving faster through the book, because it's kind of frustrating me how slow I'm going. I think I'm only like 180 pages in, and I've been reading pretty consistently for like a week, and most of the time for a 600-page book, which I think is about what it is, I would have gotten through it by now. But like I said, I'm not even a third of the way through it. And then continuing on into May, I will also be reading, I think, Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I'll be following The Year of Cosmere. Read along. Like I said, I want to read the next John Scalzi. And I have a couple of other exciting books that I'm looking forward to reading. So, funny fact, I filmed my April wrap-up video, got it imported onto my computer, was doing editing, and got to the end and realized I didn't actually film an ending. Like, in the video that I filmed, I just was talking about books 1 minute and the video end the next. I didn't say bye, I didn't say see, I didn't say TTFN, like nothing, just kind of stopped and went on with my life. I thought about being lazy and just posting it like that, but I decided that y'all probably deserved a little bit more, and that I'd at least do some sort of goodbye. So thank you very, very much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. I would especially like to hear what books you were able to read in the month of April, and to hear what you thought about them, especially if we happen to read any of the same books. I hope you all have a good morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it happens to be when you watch this video. And I will see you, actually I guess I won't see you next time, you'll see me next time. But I guess you'll see me next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.